Chapter 12. Nick? Hello, Steve. What can I do for you? The system manager was a good friend of Steve's, and they occasionally played some interesting, if unorthodox, computerized practical jokes on each other. He was also the hottest computer jockey on the network, and why he was working for some grotty police training academy was never entirely clear. There were rumours he'd been involved in some undefined but fantastically complex comp fraud, but had so impressed the investigating firemen that he'd been given a job as a monitor. But, of course, none of this was on file, and the monitor was as likely to admit to his occupation as a corrupt politician. Sysman for the academy was as good a place to hide as any. Unofficial for the moment, but someone's been at my simulator trails. A couple of students knew more than they should about me screwing up this morning's run. Have you told it to your instructor? No, I'd like to keep it quiet for the time being. Just nose around as much as possible and get some evidence. Are these students pals of yours or something? It's a serious matter. I wouldn't call them friends, but I wouldn't want them to get into too much trouble if they're just being mischievous. Very gallant. Hold on a second, I'll see if I can spot anything from here. What simulator were you using this morning? Deep Space Encounter Polship 5? Right, that's Dev 44 on training real-time node. And Nick vanished from Steve's phone while he reached for his terminal. There we are. Nick's voice came through while the phone's camera stared steadfastly on the computer posters in an argon-filled case adorning the back of his room. They were all genuine wood-pulp paper. He had quite a collection with some real antiques, huge improbable spaceships lumbering across a starry background. There's no evidence of tampering, all the security levels are okay. Hold on, I'll check for aliases. Aliases were secondary accounts that could be piggybacked onto someone's main account with a computer, and a favourite tool of pranksters. They could sometimes acquire security privileges far in excess of their instigator's rightful clearance. No, nothing. It must be something they only do when the SIM is active. I could put a phantom on it. It'll monitor all access, and when someone unexpected takes a peek at the SIM traces, it'll switch the interface into diagnostic mode, if you can manage that. Nick popped back onto the screen with a grin several shades of evilness past pleasant. Thank you so much. And Steve grinned back. I think I might be able to cope with it. I've got to go to Zeno now, but I'll book that SIM for this evening, if you can manage to write the phantom by then. And sent back a broad smile. Oh, I hope so. If I'm around, I might hook in and watch the fun. Goodbye, you unscrupulous voyeur, you. Steve hung up. Xeno was more interesting than usual, as it covered a species of parasites that could, strangely, adapt to different host biologies. Indeed, there was a theory that the parasites were a genetically engineered weapon from one of the many minor conflicts that had constantly sputtered around the edge of controlled space and that had got out of hand. Whatever their origins, Briniali 7.5 ballistae were quite a problem at the moment, as they were ideally suited to spreading amongst space-going races. The effects of this parasite were unusually horrific. A video showed a small dog turn into a mass of writhing flatworms in under 50 seconds from initial infection. The force jars with live specimens in were passed around and treated with considerable care. For once, the jokes of the class were subdued. All ship scanners are, of course, sensitive to this particular beastie, said the doctor in charge, but they can miss the egg, immature or mature animal if it's kept in a screened compartment. If you're unlucky enough to be in a situation where infection by Briniali is possible, then remember to keep all bodily orifices filtered. Eggs contacting skin are not usually dangerous, but breathe some in or get some into a wound and you'll be dead in minutes. The animal itself is, as you've seen, a ferocious burrower, but can't reproduce for at least a minute if it's in a novel biological environment. The film was a laboratory infection via a single worm that was already adapted for canines. In such cases, the thing is breeding almost the moment it's in. Several of the less hardened students were glancing at the force jars. So, depending on circumstance, you can survive contact with our friend Briniali, but it's far safer not to risk it. The class over, Steve made a point of mentioning to Chase that he'd be in the simulator later that evening. He checked to see if his report had been read. It had, but the instructor hadn't posted any comments yet, and went for an afternoon meal. He noticed that a number of students didn't seem that hungry. A bad move, as he was sure that the academy monitored for excessive squeamishness and that the Xeno lesson was just as much concerned with human psychology as alien physiology. He made a point of ordering pasta in tomato sauce. The picture on the menu made it look astonishingly similar to Briniali having a meal. Coincidence? He couldn't tell. But the look of horror on some faces made it a good joke, whatever the motives.